right. Okay, good afternoon. I'd like to call the Tuesday, December 19th, 2023 meeting of the Moorhead Public Service Commission to order. Commissioner Heidi Durand will be participating in this meeting virtually from the address located at 3625 22nd Avenue South, Moorhead, Minnesota 56560, which location is open and accessible to the public during the meeting. Moorhead Public Service Commission welcomes and encourages customer input on issues listed on the agenda or of general water utility, electric utility interest, time and commission permitting. Speakers are limited to 3-minute presentations. Customers wishing to address the commission regarding a specific agenda item will be afforded an opportunity during the discussion of that item. Customers wishing to speak on matters not listed on the agenda will be given the opportunity to do so under the heading Customers to be heard and/or recognitions. Each person requesting the opportunity to speak is asked to fill out a request to speak form located in the back of the room and presented to the administrative assistant in attendance at the meeting. Any follow-up or feedback will be done on by email on anything that cannot be resolved this evening. I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. I can second Heidi.
Okay. A motion by Durand, seconded by Paulson to approve the meeting's agenda. Paulson?
Aye.
Gilbertson?
Aye.
Durand?
Aye.
Thompson? Aye. Okay, I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Gilbertson, seconded by Paulson to approve the consent agenda. Discussion? Seeing none. Durand?
Yes.
Paulson?
Yes.
Gilbertson?
Aye.
Thompson, yes. Customers to be heard are recognitions. Mr. Schmidt?
I have none this evening.
Thank you. Only old business? Anybody want to revisit anything? Moving on to reports. City Council, Mr. Gilbertson.
Monday, we approved a 3.3% budget increase with the electric and water rates included.
Thank you. Public Service Commission, we've not met. I don't believe anybody's met. Anybody gone to any meetings? All right, General Manager's report, Mr. Schmidt.
Yeah, I've got a couple items here on the agenda, and I'll speak about 2 other items as well. We had a couple more community engagement activities over the last few weeks. MPS participated in the Salvation Army bell ringing. As of earlier today, we were almost at 2,600, where MPS staff was out there ringing the bell. Again, they did that during work hours. We let them go for about 2.5 hours at a time to ring the bell. So good time to do it, and I had a little fun one afternoon with one of our staff members as well. We also participated in the XL Energy Holiday Lights Parade. Don't ask me why they're the main sponsor on it, but they are. That was held on December 2nd. Handed out approximately 160 mini footballs and about 245 pounds of candy there. And then we also had 2 of our linemen, Justin Offit and Ryan Nelson. They did a presentation on electrical safety to the Innovations Lab on December 12th. Again, this is really, we've got a big board, I would call it, that basically kind of shows overhead lines and electrical safety. You can slide a boat into it or a ladder onto the wires, and it shows some arcing and stuff like that. It really helps promote electrical safety around electrical lines and things like that. So, and then all the students that were there received an activity and book and on electrical safety as well. Last week, I was in attendance at the Midwest Electric Consumers Association annual meeting that was held in Denver. Again, MECA, Midwest Electric Consumers Association, works with WAPA, Corps of Engineers, and Bureau of Reclamation, again, related to the dams along the Missouri River or the Missouri Basin and the Colorado River storage projects as well, too. A lot of things were talked about at that meeting. They talked about working on invasive species, protection of endangered species, silt settlement concerns, market pressures and changes that are coming into the WAPA area, and they're looking at expanding their, WAPA is looking at expanding their interconnection with Southwest Power Pool as well, and then talking about generation and dam safety and rehab projects that they're seeing coming up. So there's a major project at the flood impoundment area on the Garrison Dam as well too. That's going to be billions of dollars worth of work that has to be done there to fix that. And then today we actually kicked off our advanced meter infrastructure project. We had a soft kickoff meeting today, really just working on figuring out the meter programming for both the water and electric side so that they can start doing those ordering here rather soon as well. So that's all I have.
Okay, I entertain a motion to accept the general manager's report.
So moved.
So moved. Oh, I'll second Heidi.
We have a motion by Duran, seconded by Paulson to accept the general manager's report. Any questions or discussion? Okay, Duran,
Yes.
Paulson,
Yes.
Thompson, yes.
Aye.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Gilbertson. Moving on to item 8D.
Sure. I'm going to have Taylor Holt come up here. Again, he's giving a report on our cogeneration and small production, power production tariffs. Again, this is an annual item. Again, it's a good thing to bring up. A lot of this is related to solar on customer houses or on commercial buildings as well too. So Taylor's going to give you an update on that and where we're at with everything so far, and then what next year looks like as well. Taylor, go ahead.
Good evening, Commissioners. Taylor Holt, project engineer. Like Travis was saying, this report actually covers kind of two different parts. One's a report that is required by the Minnesota Department of Commerce, and then the other one is approving the distributed generation workbook, which we use to go through the application and approval process with our residential customers who want to install solar on their rooftops. Essentially, this report is a bunch of different sections, which most of the work is actually performed by Missouri River Energy Services, but we have to tack on some information that's specific to us. What it consists of: projected costs of building new generation and what the affected costs would do to our rates. Along with that, we also have a chart that shows our calculated average retail energy rate, which breaks it down into our different rate classes and what the average kilowatt hour rate is. So it tells a story of how balanced our rate structure is between customers, but again, it doesn't always tell the full story. Along with that, the tail end of the report calculates what the avoided cost is per kilowatt hour to build new generation, which in turn we use to provide as a rate of compensation for generation that comes from our home solar customers. It comes at a reduced rate compared to our retail rate, but they're avoiding all of the costs of the infrastructure it takes to provide them power in the first place. And then that goes into the distribution workbook, which is, the last revision was August of 2021, and they generally review that and revise it every 3 years. So it's just approving it again for next year. Do the commissioners have any questions at this time?
Heidi, anything?
Nope.
Thank you,
you.
Taylor. Okay, entertain a motion then to accept the report.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Paulson, seconded by Gilbertson to accept the report. Discussion? Gilbertson,
Aye.
Paulson,
Aye.
Duran,
Aye.
Thompson, yes. Contracted extension with border states. Mr. Schmidt.
Yep, I'll have Mark Pritchard come up and speak to this. We are going into what would be our third year of our 3-year contract. We started this back in 2021, I'm correct. And this is again for lime solids or lime sludge hauling that we've been discussing a lot lately. And Mark's going to give you a quick update on where we're at with that contract and how everything else is looking as well, too. Go ahead, Mark.
Thank you, Travis. Mark Pritchard, Water Plant Manager. As Travis had mentioned, this is the last one-year extension that we have available to us as part of the existing contract with Border States Paving. As Travis had mentioned, in October of 2021, we originally had a contract awarded for approval from the Commission that had options for one-year extensions. And as part of the bidding process, we did have quotes put out there for extension year number 1 and 2, aka year 2 and 3 of the contract. And MPS staff have been successfully able to negotiate in really good faith with the contractor for prices that are lower than what those extensions represent. So the third year that we have, the second individual one-year contract extension, originally had a price tag of $97 and change. With conversation with Border States, we were able to acquire an $85 per cubic yard contract extension price. So that's a significant reduction over the course of the year. It's about a $212,000 reduction compared to what those prices were before. In a testament to the good working relationship that we've cultivated with Border States, knowing that some more aggressive uses for the material are beginning to take shape, we're able to use this material at closer locations than Long Prairie, Minnesota and other ag fields for land application for pH adjustment. We are in the beginning phases of negotiating contract change order reductions for however many cubic yards of material are used at closer locations. So they're looking at using some as a additive to their crushed concrete in Fargo, for example. That's about a 6-mile drive from our water treatment facility versus a 3-hour there and back trip to Long Prairie. So with those closer applications being more accessible, we are in good faith negotiating contract change order reductions for the first quarter of 2024. So those haven't started yet, but we're very confident that we'll be able to see probably a few different options on what that will look like, and we do intend on bringing that to the Commission for their approval at that time once those change order reductions have been negotiated. But we're looking at probably 2 or 3 different options for different locations, all being closer than where we're taking it now, all representing what we anticipate to be a net decrease in our overall costs for 2024, although we do have a $2 net increase per cubic yard at this time. So we're seeing lots of good things happening here in the last 6 months.
Great. Any questions for Mr. Pritchard? Go ahead, Mr.
Madam Chair?
Paulson.
So Mark, I'm just curious, easy question, but do we follow where all the loads of this lime sludge end up?
Yes, we do.
Yep.
Good question. So from Border States, we do acquire latitude and longitude coordinates about every quarter or so that has how many tons of material are applied at what location throughout the state of Minnesota. It's very important now more than ever, especially with other contaminants of emerging concern that could potentially be carried in those dewatered solids, like PFAS, for example. There's other states that are having lots of issues with that, knowing that after X amount of tons of this material or this type of material have been land applied, they're finding out after the fact that they have to basically go dig it back up and remove it because it does carry contaminants that can't be on the land. So we're paying very close attention to that as we go, and again, we are keeping track of how many tons are going at what latitude and longitude locations.
Wonderful. I never thought about that. Is it a big concern then? And is it a growing concern, I guess is a better question.
It is a growing concern, absolutely. As the EPA puts more regulatory requirements on a wider variety of different chemical compounds, things that might not have been regulated in the past could be regulated in the future. And if they find retroactively that, let's say PFAS, for example, is in your lime solids that you spread over 10,000 acres, that poses a direct impingement on that landowner's use of that product and our ability to dispose of it properly. So like I said, other states have more issues than us. Again, we are very fortunate here in the Red River Valley to not have any kind of contaminants of emerging concern that we have, causing issues for our dewatered solids. So overall, we're in very good shape.
Mark, quick question for you. With what we're land applying currently, do we have any concerns? Have we had testing done on some of those lime solids to make sure we don't have contaminants in that?
Yes, good question. We actually had the University of Minnesota Soil Testing Laboratory actually run a batch of samples for us that were given back to us on the 17th of November. So we just actually, as of this afternoon, uploaded that to the Department of Agriculture's website so that potential users of our material can look at the chemical analysis of our lime and then see if it's suitable for something they could use as well. So we're tracking that as well very closely.
Mark, do you want to do just a quick update on where you're at with Minnesota DOT and North Dakota DOT usability of that product as well?
Yeah, sure. So right now we haven't had a whole lot of new information. Right now the University of Michigan is currently using our material as part of their study to see how freeze-thaw cycles affect road subgrade and whether or not a 1% to maybe a 3 or 5% mixture of our lime can increase the shear strength of the soils that they're using as part of the study. So they're just really getting underway right now. As far as the North Dakota side of things, we haven't heard as much. It sounds like there's plenty of lime to be used from areas like Bismarck and Mandan. But our contractor, Border States, has again noticed that in their own experiments with our material, they are able to use this as a crushed concrete fill material in about a 2% mixture. So this experiment that they ran over the course of last summer used about 1,000 tons of our material. So that will be something that they intend on using into the future moving forward. And it is one of the couple different items that we're looking at talking about change order reductions for that cost based off of it going from our facility to their lot in Fargo, which is about 6 miles away versus the trek to Long Prairie.
Thank you.
Uh,
Any other questions? Go ahead, Heidi.
I don't have a question. I just have a comment. You know, I have been a part of the sludge conversation for many, many years, and you know, an advocate and a proponent of looking for innovative solutions as to what we could do with this stuff. And I just have to commend you all because this is outstanding. I mean, you know, if somebody would have told me back those years ago that this is where we would be, way to go, you guys, you and your team. This is, it's amazing what you have been able to find and how you've been able to use this stuff. You know, when we talked about coming up with creative solutions back years ago, this is everything that I could have hoped for. Good job, you guys. And I hope Travis, I hope there's some kind of a award that you can apply these guys for, because they have come up with some very ingenious ideas and some very collaborative partnerships. I can't believe it. So way to go, guys.
Thank you, Heidi. We'll see if we can get a sludge pin for them.
Great. Okay. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it. Anybody want to make a motion to accept the report?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Gilbertson, seconded by Duran, to accept the report. Any further discussion or questions? Okay, then Duran,
Yes.
Gilbertson,
Aye.
Paulson,
Aye.
Thompson, yes.
Mark?
All right, item number 13, policy on sick leave.
Yep, I'll go ahead and take this one tonight. So in 2023, the Minnesota legislative session, there was a new law that was put in with earned, safe, and sick time. This is very similar to what they did about 7-8 years ago with the sick leave for public entities. With the changes that were made, this goes into effect January 1, so we need to have a policy. Typically, our sick leave is included in both of our union contracts, and then we have a P&S supervisory employee handbook as well. To kind of cover everything in short order, we're going to just make a policy on this, and we've actually been working with Flaherty and Hood to redo our current P&S employee handbook and make it more of a employee handbook for all employees. So this is the first of probably several policies that we're going to be bringing forth based on the P&S employee handbook or professional and supervisory handbook. And with that, the earned sick and safe time, along with our current sick leave language that's in our handbook, is kind of included, or is all included in this policy. Again, we had to do some massaging to make it fit everything and how we have our current setup, especially with our contracts, with our labor, our bargaining units. Overall, there's not a lot of changes. There's some additive abilities to this, which includes expanded capacity on who you can use your sick time for, what you can use your sick time for. And then along with that, also with some of our temporary, seasonal, and part-time employees, for every hour, they earn 1 hour for every 30 hours worked as well too. So it's expanded capacity. We've heard that there's probably some more changes coming from the legislative session in 2024. We're going to wait to see what happens with that. But again, I'm just asking you to approve this policy tonight so we can move forward with it. We will be notifying all employees and then both bargaining units as well of the changes that are coming.
Wonderful. Any questions about this action item?
Nope.
If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Duran, seconded by Gilbertson to approve the policy on sick leave. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Gilbertson?
Aye.
Paulson?
Aye.
Duran?
Yes.
Thompson, yes. Item number 14, policy on mission statement, etc.
All right, I will start with this, and we've got Marcy Douglas from Missouri River Energy Services in the audience tonight. I'm going to have her come up and kind of speak to the overall process that we go through. Marcy's been the administrator or MC for this for the last 3 years. Again, in 2021, we redid our strategic directions. We looked at our mission core values and set a 3-year strategic plan at that point in time. What you'll be approving tonight is the 3rd year, so 2024's strategic direction matrix. So this is the accomplishments that we're going to do in 2024. So overall, we met in mid-November, roughly. Marcy went through about a 2-day process with us. She sat down with the professional and supervisory staff to start off, and then went and worked with the union groups in 3 other sessions, and then had a final catch-up meeting at the end with the P&S staff as well too. Next year, we'll look at maybe changing some things. Again, this was a huge revamp 3 years ago. We're going to look and wanted to see how it would work. Next year, we're looking at probably adding something in for the commissioners as well too. Just because, again, it's going to be setting that next 3-year strategic direction as well. So Marcy, I'll let you go from there.
Thank you, Travis. Thank you, Commission. Very glad to be here. Marcy Douglas. I do Leadership Development and Strategic Planning Manager for Missouri River Energy. I really enjoy the time that I get to do with Moorhead Public Service and the process that we have come up with when we redid everything 3 years ago, and involving all of the employees and what that has done for both the culture, the team building, and the very positive feedback that I have heard from the employees on feeling valued and heard by being able to go through this process and ask their questions and have their input. So as Travis alluded, kind of the process on how we do that with the staff in the different sessions. So in this, because this is, like I said, as he had mentioned, a 3rd year in the revamping, sometimes we'll do a deep dive on one particular area. So one of the focuses, as you look on that strategic plan summary, one of the focuses was on the KPIs, and we had some candid conversations on what do the dashboards, what should they look like, and this is something just to kind of give you a heads up for next year as we look at a little bit more revamping and doing a restart on that. This is where we're going to call on you guys for the help on this, because we want to make sure that we are providing you with every tool that you need to do your job as a commission. So as you look at those dashboards, just analyzing them and taking a look of, hey, I could use a little more information in this, or this is a little overkill over here on this on too much information. So that'll be one of those things we'll kind of ask for probably in this next year as you go through that. It's one of the great pieces as American Public Power does on governing for excellence, isn't that? And having those different lanes there. So again, on some of the KPIs, we took a look at moving things around that maybe used to be under a different category that belonged more in another, combining energy services and electricity. We're trying to make it so that it literally will mirror each other. So when you get a dashboard with KPIs and areas, it will match one of those 6 strategic priorities and directions. So keeping them together, making it easier for everybody to follow and track on that. So just keeping that in mind as we go through that. And again, we had about 58 participants as we went through the process. There were no changes this year in mission and core value. We do always review those at the beginning just in case there's any tweaking or changing, but nothing changed on that. And then the process we used, this year we did just a little bit different we went through the questions just kind of in each group. We went over the last year's accomplishments. So we took each of the 6 different directions and we took the accomplishments from the last year. We talked about, victories. What are some of those things that are really, that we want to, clarify as that success and celebrate. There's a lot of work. You can hear all the different work that's going on, but it's great to pause and have that little bit to celebrate. Also to acknowledge challenges. We talked through some of those because not everything always goes, absolutely fabulous. So what are some of those challenges? And then learnings and recommendations. Just what were some of those things that we learned that, hey, worked well? Or what is something maybe we could try a little different next time as we go through this process? And then the final step, of course, in that was next steps or third-year goals. So as you will see in those matrix in each of those different areas, creating those third-year goals with each of the groups. And with these groups, it started with BNS staff and then went through all the individual employee groups, and everybody continued to tweak and add and change and move. So it became, living, breathing through all of the different sessions. Any questions? Do you want me to go through any of them individual, or I will leave that up to the commission? Have all the details in your packets. I think one of the big things I would like to point out that was a real highlight as you look at both the community and the our team, how that became a new focus 3 years ago and what it has done for both the community and all of your staff and your employees being engaged and being back out into the community, being engaged with each other and working, just hearing about, at the beginning of, earlier this evening of some of the events that have been done in the community. So we can see that, and we also see other utilities looking at what you're doing and how they can, replicate and do those things at that level. So that was definitely something that's been a real standout.
Yeah, I think the other thing we also did I would say maybe a little bit of a deep dive on was communication, both internal and external. Again, making sure everybody knows kind of what's going on, where we're at with things, what's the status of stuff, and then again, also how do we make sure we're getting that out to the public as well too. So we did have a good conversation on that, and some things we got to figure out what are the best practices of getting that information out. Something we'll be working on as well.
Yep, we take those deep dives in these off years, and so last year the deep dive was on that community and our team, and that's where a lot of these ideas came from. And then as Travis mentioned, this one was on basically communication. We asked them, okay, it's the same thing like we're going to be asking you on the KPIs. What do you want to know? And once we have that established, how do you want to know it? Everybody, is this one something as simple as a text or a call or a memo and just actually having those candid conversations on that. And it was a very great use of time of getting some information from hearing both sides.
Any questions or comments? This is wonderful. I love looking at this, and I like the way it's so neatly put in a couple pages too, because it's still, otherwise it gets lost in the text, and I think it's great. I'd like to see the progress that we've made. I really appreciate the time that you spent.
Thank you. We love keeping it nice and concise for you, although I will tell you, you keep pushing me further each year, your font gets a little smaller. So don't think that you can't see it as well. I'm playing mind games with you.
Great. Well, I'd entertain a motion then to we don't need to approve this. We just
Yeah, you'll need to approve it because it's got the 2024 strategic direction matrix in there. Again, policy's been reviewed by staff. It was included in the packet as well too. Again, we're not asking for any changes on the mission statement, core values, and strategic directions. We're just going to ask
they approve the 2024
but approve
strategic direction
Yep.
matrix. Okay.
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
I have a motion by Gilbertson, seconded by Paulson, to approve the 2024 strategic direction matrix. Discussion? Okay, Gilbertson.
Aye.
Paulson.
Aye.
Duran.
Yes.
Thompson, yes. All right then. The final budget for 2024, budget and rates.
Sure. I'm going to have Mr. Moorland come up here tonight. Mark, our finance division manager, and I and staff have been working really hard to get this thing cleaned up and straightened up. We've made a couple minor changes to the overall budget. No impact to the rates itself, but just adjusting where projects are going to occur over the next roughly 5 years or so. Mark, I'll let you kind of speak to it, and we'll ask for final approval after that.
Sounds good. Thank you, Travis. Commissioners, Chairperson Thompson. I'd like to again thank you for your participation in the creation of the budget. As Travis indicated, we presented the original budget on October 17. At that time, the recommendations were overall electric rate increase of 2.5% and water of 4.0%. This would help us meet all of our operating budget needs, our debt repayment needs, our long-term capital plan project and expenditure financing plans. And between the original meeting, which occurred on October 17th, and today, we did encounter a couple of issues that did require us to tweak the long-range capital expenditure plan. We were not awarded a grant that we were relying upon. We found that out in early October or early November, and as a result, we reshuffled some of the capital expenditure plans. Some of the projects, moved them out a couple of years so they would have no impact on rates and yet still be attainable. And then within the water division's treatment plant, we had some issues with our ozone treatment equipment and realized that we probably need to replace that sooner than later. So that project was moved up and accelerated a couple of years. And a couple other projects, water softening basins, and a couple other major projects were reshuffled, put out a couple years further. And again, the net impact was negligible and have no impact for customer rates. And as such, we've discussed and shared that with the budget working group. They had no concerns, and at this time, we're comfortable with our recommendation to recommend the 2.5% electric rate increase and the 4% water rate increase. So at this time, I'm open to any questions you may have about the budget and the rates.
Mark, do you want to add on to the projected rates for the future years as well, too?
Oh, sure. Going forward, next couple of years, we're again looking at a pretty conservative 2.5 to 2 or 3% rate increases for electric. We do know that there are some rate increases coming from Missouri River Energy Service, one of our primary energy providers. We do know that WAPA on the electric side is going to be also having some rate increases. And then within the water division, we're looking probably at 4.5 for the next couple of years, but we were comfortable with 4% this year to meet our needs. So that's kind of the long-range plan for the next 2 or 3 years.
So overall, the shifting of the projects really didn't impact the future rate increases as well. They were left about the same.
That is correct.
Questions? Mark, I really appreciate all the work that you've done and the transparency on these last-minute prioritization. And it's been a process, and I think the team's deep dive into keeping rate increases as minimal as possible is really commendable.
I recognize the same thing. It's up to the managers, and they've been a big help in recognizing what can be moved and what can't be moved. So again, they were the primary drivers of these changes.
Questions? Entertain a motion then?
Madam Chair, I just have one comment. I would echo your gratitude to Mark and his team, and I would also say, I mean, these rates are well below running rate of inflation last year, and we saw huge price increases for chemicals, equipment, you name it, across the line. And we've been able to keep rates very modest increase here this year. So I think it's a testament to the team and the innovation that all of MPS staff has in looking out for the ratepayers and doing a lot with a little. So
I thank you for that. And again, the managers, I'm sure, will echo the same. Thank you.
I want to thank Mark and Allison and then all the managers as well. They've done a great job this year putting everything together and getting it ready to go. So.
Any other questions? I'm going to entertain a motion. Did we already do that? No, I was going to say, it's all a blur. All right.
I'll move to approve the 2024 MPS budget.
Second.
We have a motion by Paulson, seconded by Duran to approve the 2024 budget and rates. Any further discussion? Okay, Gilbertson,
Aye.
Paulson,
Aye.
Duran,
Yes.
Thompson, yes. Okay, we are planning to go into closed session. This meeting will now be closed for executive session as permitted by Minnesota statute section 13D.03 subdivision 1B to discuss strategies for labor negotiations. Action may be taken in open session upon conclusion of executive session. However, we will adjourn upon conclusion of executive session if no further action is needed in open session. Now I'd entertain a motion to close the meeting for executive session.
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion by Gilbertson, seconded by Paulson to close the meeting. Discussion or questions? Seeing none. Duran,
Aye.
Paulson,
Aye.
Gilbertson,
Aye.
Thompson, aye.